Douglas Owen, and I'm the managing editor of science fiction and fantasy publications in Stouffville, Ontario. Welcome to our video blog. These video blogs are done so that you can, as a writer, seek publication. Not just through us here at Science Fiction and Fantasy Publication, but we'll be honored to receive your submissions. But through any place. These are for generally any writer, period. Not just people who write science fiction and fantasy. Because all writers need a little more information when it comes to what to do in order to get out there. Last blog we covered submissions. How to submit. And basically we centered on ourselves here. And we said, look, in order to submit to us, this is what you need to do. Well, that also covers with every other publishing company out there. They're going to have guidelines that you should follow. Look for what they want from you first and follow those. That'll tie everything together for our last blog. But this blog here in particular, this blog has to do with what you're going to submit. The reason I'm doing this is because, again, our submissions people are hammering me to get some word out there to you so you know what to do. They've done that because we've turned away quite a few manuscripts. And that breaks my heart because I've been told that, hey, you know, there's some great manuscripts coming in, but there's problems. And what are those problems? Well, the problems are they're usually the first draft. I don't know about you. Myself, as a writer also, I want to make sure what I give for publication is as perfect as I can make it. So before anything goes into the readers or that for publication, I will take my first draft, set it aside for 30 days, and then revisit it. And what do I do when I revisit it? Well, I just don't open it up and read it. I actually edit it. I go in and I see where I've got a timeline problem where these group of kids have camped for 2 days, but they're meeting up with somebody that would have taken a week to travel to get there. There's a logic error there. So I find that and I fix that. I'll also find those little instances when you have an A instead of an an, a then instead of a than, a where instead of a were, little things like that. And once they're fixed, that makes your story that much better. Also, there's other things that you want to do because you don't want to submit your second draft. Oh, forbid that. That's just forget it. Don't submit a first or second draft, period. Actually, don't even submit a third, fourth, or fifth, or sixth draft. You should be submitting your 8th draft after it's been edited by somebody you trust. So how are you supposed to do this? Because, heck, writing the first draft was hard enough, right? Well, that's actually the easy job. That's the first thing you do is write your first draft. Then you go over it with your second draft, make your second draft after 30 days of setting it aside. The reason for the 30 days is so that you forget what you've written. You still remember the story, the time, and the frames and everything, but you've forgotten the main gist of it. So you're looking at it as a new reader, and you can see where the errors are. The second draft is the same thing. You're doing it and going over it with yourself after 30 days, and you know, you're giving yourself a good read. Now is when you need help. You can't just revisit it again another 30 days because now you've really got the story banged right in your head. No good then. Now you need outside help. Find a writer's group or seek an online critique group. The online critique groups are very good, but it's a mixed bag. You don't know who you're going to get unless you fall into a specific group and you exchange critiques with people of high writing skills. You have community groups out there for writers, and in those groups you're going to find other people who will agree to swap critiques with you. Find somebody who's done a number of books, or someone with credentials as editing. And then you'll get a real good mix of information. You're not going to do that just one time. You're going to do that several times. Actually, now I send all my stuff through 6 different people that I trust explicitly to give me good feedback on my writing. And I do the same for them. I critique their work, do some editing. You know, as an editor, I've got a little bit more knowledge on specific things. So I can tell them, oh yeah, you've got a grammatical error here. This is an incomplete sentence, even though it looks right. And you've got gerunds all over the place, which are no good because those are verbs turned into a noun by adding an ing on the end of them. And though there's nothing really bad about them, grammatically, they're okay. But in narrative, they're terrible. And people see that and they just go, oh, I don't like this writing. I don't know why. I just don't see it. So those are things to do. You want to get at least 6 critiques on each phase. So you've got one critique, look at their notes, do some rewrites, fix things up, send to another person, and this is done 6 times. So you've got now 8 rewrites. 8 rewrites is fantastic because that means that you've polished the work quite a bit. Now what you want to do is you want to find just a quick line editor. You can find them all over the place. You can go to, say, a Lance and put up a request bid on it. You're not going to tell them to do a full scan of every single little nonsense. All you're looking for is a quick line edit, which means spelling and grammar. That's what you want them to check. You don't want them to check your story because that's already been done by your critiquers. So they come across, they do the quick little line edit for you and make sure there's no grammatical or spelling errors. That's great. And as long as they do a good job, then you're that much more ahead of the game. Be careful. This is a buyer beware industry. If you go to, say, a Lance or even Fiverr, but I would say no to Fiverr for editing. I've done test studies on them, and a lot of the editors there, even though they've got great responses of, hi, how you doing, fantastic, did a great job to me, their edits missed tons of stuff, especially things that were glaring. Lance has a little more professionalism in it, and there's other freelancer websites out there that you could look for that will give you information. So once Lance comes back with a good editor, you pick them, they do a fantastic bang-up job for you, take out all your misspelled words, misplaced words, correct all the grammar outside of narrative, and come back to you and say, here you go, make sure you give a good thumbs up to them. Now, with Lance, you're looking at probably anywhere from 0.1 to 0.2 cents per word for editing a manuscript. That's about the going rate for a freelancer. So an 80,000 word manuscript gone through a Lance will cost you about $160 to edit. Now that's only their cursory edit, because every manuscript that comes into us here that we take, we're going to do edits to also. Because they have a certain thing that they look for, we have certain things that we look for also. Just a different high-level version of editing that we have. Now, once you've got that done, you have a polished manuscript. That's when you can start sending it out. Anything else will just get you rejected. I'm sorry. I don't know how many manuscripts that got past our submissions people that came to me. I looked at it, and I could tell they were first drafts, and I've sent them back and saying, please seek critiquing, or get some work done on this, or you know, you've got lots of things. Had somebody even argue with me, telling me that their friend, who has a BA in English, said there was no problems in the manuscript and didn't understand what I meant by saying it needed work. I sent it back with markups. In the first page alone, so the first 300 words of her manuscript, there are 27 edit marks. Tense changes, which her editing friend couldn't find. There were gerunds, the one I mentioned before, which is a verb changed into a noun with introduction, an ing on the back of it, and a whole bunch of other problems. And I'm going to tell you right away, even though that makes me appear perfect, I'm not. I'll miss things too. That's why I have another editor on staff who checks my work. And we're both professional. So that's what you want to do with submissions. And that's how you submit. Just those little things. That's called polishing a manuscript and getting it ready for publication. I hope this has helped you and given you an idea of what you got to do as a writer in order to get your work out there. Talk to you soon. Have a good day and happy writing.